Hey, how you doing? Please come on in. You're welcome. Hi guys, my name is Kwaku Acheampong, and today I'd like to take you guys through the day in the life of an environmental coordinator. Before we head out, I'd like to give you guys a brief introduction to myself and how I ended up here. I grew up in the beautiful and natural province of Mpumalanga, which created in me a great passion and love for the natural environment, which included plants, animals and landscapes, which then led me to then study a degree at the University of the Witwatersrand. Initially kicked off with a 3-year degree in ecology and zoology, after which I did a year of honors in ecology, zoology and conservation, and am currently working towards a master's in ecology, zoology and conservation. My career to date has been in the mining industry. I've been in the mining industry for about 7 years and have spent some time in the corporate environment, as well as having worked on operations in Brazil and am now and have spent the last 2.5 years at an operation in Mpumalanga. With that said, I think we can head out. Great, so this is one of our dirty water containment facilities. This area actually is a dam. It's a stone wall dam, and its purpose here is actually to contain any dirty water that's generated on our operation and is making its way uncontrolled. We try and control that water so that it doesn't just freely make its way to the natural environment. From here we then are able to then convey this water to our liming plant, which you can then just see in the distance, and that's where we then add lime to the water, and it allows us to clean that water in a sense that we are able to precipitate out your heavy metals and certain contaminants within that water, and also uplift the pH, because generally with coal mining your pH is quite low, and this will be one of the protection measures that we have in place in order to look after the environment. So the role of an environmental coordinator in general is, the way you start an operation is that you will have to acquire a water use license, and our role as the environmental teams on site is that we want to actually protect that water use license, which then helps and allows us to protect the natural environment. Okay, welcome to the liming plant. One of the other critical areas of my space, or my areas of responsibility. So effectively, this is one of the areas that we utilize in order to maintain and protect our water use license. And this is done through the cleaning or the treatment of water before we release that into the natural environment. So here we've got 2 processes that we run at our liming plant. We've got just generic limestone, as well as in the silos we've got hydrated lime. The only difference between the two is how quickly you would like to increase your pH, and also in general how much you would like to spend. But effectively both processes were able to then take the lime, mix it with water, dose it, and then we will then take it through the process where we will then mix it with our acidic water to then bring up the pH of that water. Okay, so this is another one of our pollution control dams. Performs a very similar function to the stone-walled dam, except in this case it's a more active process, wherein we will actively dewater our pits or our sort of working areas. And the active dewatering is you basically put a pump in there and you pump out that water, and in this case we pump that water and we pump it into this containment facility, and from here we will then use this water to feed into the liming plant as well. So just pretty much just showing two different processes, similar structures, and some of the little bit of difference between the two. Again, another one that is critical towards the protection of our water use license. If you find that this goes down or it stops functioning and we're not utilizing it appropriately, you'll find that you don't have anywhere for your water to go, and the only place for that would be to the natural environment. So this is one of the areas that we monitor quite regularly, and we try and ensure that it's operating at the best that it can. Okay, so being in the environmental space is not all about, you know, your liming plant and looking after big bodies of water. There's also a big component that looks at sampling, you know, that comes to add on to the other component, which is your monitoring and compliance. So here we've got a borehole, and we will just take a level of the borehole just to understand in terms of what the groundwater body is doing. Other times you'll also take a sample of that water just to understand what is the quality of that water. So I'll just quickly, you know, for demonstrative purposes, I'll just quickly take a sample, and you guys can follow with us on this. So another function we have as the environmental team and responsibility of an operation in general is around rehabilitation. So one of the big things about the mining space is that you go in, and generally if you're an open cast mine, you will go in, you'll dig a big hole, and you'll take whatever minerals or products that you want to get out of the ground. And the intent of rehabilitation is to be able to get that area to being as best as possibly can a natural type of environment. So you want to try and fill those areas and basically put vegetation on top of it so that you can get that area, and that where you've caused damage, you want to bring it back to its original state. So just here in the distance you can actually see we were able to fill in all of those openings or those voids, and then the team came in, we reshaped it, and we're able to now revegetate the area, and it's almost looking, you know, pretty much a natural grassland as it would have been in its original state. So if you can just see almost in, you know, a little bit of the remnants of it, you can actually see some of the depressions where your pit was, and obviously in the distance you can actually see where the active operations are. So this is just one of those examples wherein many operations, many companies may not take this side of things as seriously as we should, but this is the biggest way in which you can actually give back to the environment and also do your bit to reduce your environmental liabilities. Thanks guys for joining me once again. I think over and above everything that we saw today and I took you guys through today, we were very much focused on just the water side of things, but in terms of environmental, our scope is quite big, it's quite broad. So over and above what you would have seen today, There's waste management that we'd need to look at on site. There's air quality. There's also social compliance and engaging with our communities in terms of environmental, and then also a huge component which forms part of our monitoring and compliance is the general inspections, as well as the follow-up audits that will be associated with that. So I hope out of this you've been able to get a bit of an understanding, a bit of insight in terms of environmental and our role as environmental professionals on site, and particularly an environmental coordinator as well. But yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you guys out here with me, and yeah, until next time, I look forward to it. Thank you.